Hello and welcome, my name's Sam and this is The Little Greenhouse Creates. Thank you for joining me today. So it's a lot cooler here today than it has been the rest of the week, but unfortunately I've still got the fan going because the house is still quite hot. So I apologise for any unusual sound effects. But the dog is grateful for the fan. She is sitting there quite happily underneath it. So welcome to Funky Fold Friday. So this is a easel card. So it lays flat ready for posting. And then when the recipient receives it, they can stand it up. So it stands up like that. So you can write your message here. Then the front pops in front of your popcorn. And then it stands like so. Right, so let's get the pieces together and we can begin. Right, I have got a piece of, so this is Daffodil Delight. It measures 11 inches by 4. Let's score that immediately while we're here. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to score it at 5.5. That's going to be the halfway mark, straight down. And then we're going to score it at 2 3/4 inches. And that's all the scoring we need to do for that. There we are. Now we have a piece of Coastal Cabana. Now this measures 3 3/4 by 5.5. We then have a piece of Melon Mambo. That measures 3.5 by 5. And then I have a piece to go on the front, which, not that piece, this piece, which measures 3 1/4 by 2 and, let's try that again. So it is 3 1/4 by 4 3/4. So that's 3 1/4 by 4 3/4. So that's the front section. Then we have another piece of the 3 1/4 by 4, which will go down here. So that is 3 1/4 by 4 3/4. Then I have a piece of scrap for all the work to go on. So let's do this bit first and then we'll come back to this. Oh, and I have a scrap of, or a piece of 3/4 by 3 1/2. Okay, so as I said, let's get our scraps in. Now, if you saw the video on Wednesday, you would have seen how I created the created colouring in this by using my Stamp and Write pens. I just want to make sure. Now it's gone far too much over there. Let's move that right over there because I need to put a circle in there. That's about right. Okay, so if you didn't see the video, here we go again. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to colour in this cling stamp. So I'm going to take the Coastal Cabana with my Stamp and Write marker, and it's the largest side. So if you're holding it with the Stamp and Write wording towards you, the largest tip is to the left, is to your right, and the smallest is to the left. But you can also see it says there, so this is 0.5 millimeters, and then you've got a tip there. So that's the thin end, and that's the thick end, and we're actually going to use the thick end. So what I'm going to do is we're just going to colour in our cling stamp. You'll hear it all squeaking. Okay, there we go. Hopefully. Now I'm just going to do this roughly because I have already coloured it in, so I'm just going to show you quickly again. So I've got the Coastal Cabana on the front of the popcorn. I'm using the Daffodil Delight for the actual popcorn. Just brush that over. And then I'm going to use the Melon Mambo for the eyes and the legs of my popcorn bucket. And I pop it over. Now, as you can see, it's quite faded, but you can fill that in by going over again. Because it's stuck down, you can keep going backwards and over and forwards as much as you need to make it as dark as you possibly want. Then you're using the die, you can cut it out. Okay, so that's the one we're going to use. Take this off. Give that a quick clean so it doesn't go on my mat. Okay, that goes over. Then I'm going to cut myself out. So I've got 2 punches. I've got a 2 3/4, sorry, it's 2 3/8 and a 2 1/4. The 2 1/4 is going to be a circle. And then I will cut out the other colour with my 2 3/4 in a moment. So the next thing to do is to bring our piece of front card in. Now this is going to be a focal, so we're going to use the 3 colours. We've got Melon Mambo, Coastal Cabana, and I've got Daffodil Delight, and I'm going to cover this in words and in the large popcorn. So I'm only going to do one of each of the popcorns. So let's go. We've got Melon Mambo, and we've got Coastal Cabana, there we go. Ooh. And then I've got a, let's clean that one as well, squeak squeak, and then I've got a Daffodil Delight. Now while you're doing this, you need to stamp out 6 separate large popcorn. There we go. And so you can cut them out in whichever colour you prefer. I've done them in the daffodil. So I've stamped them all out onto a piece and I've got all cut out. So that's 6 I've got of those. Now, I'm going to use the words. So I've got the word pop. So I'm going to do that in the pink. I've got the words enjoy. So I'm going to do that in the Coastal Cabana. And I've got the words happy birthday. And I'm going to do that in the Daffodil Delight. So I'm going to use that one first. Okay, so I'm going to go, oh no, it's not happy birthday, it's let's celebrate. Look at that. One there. Let's just do that 3 times. Let's get a whole one on there. There we go. So let's celebrate. Then I've got enjoy. I'm going to go 1, 2, 3. And then I've got pop. Fill that in. 1, 2, 3. And I might put an enjoy down here as well. There. Right, okay, so let's close those up. Perfect. Now as you can see, I've managed to make a smudge there. Now you've got 2 options, or 3 options really. Start again, which I never really like to do. Then you can cover them up in with bling, which probably won't do. So what I'm going to do is, whereas I have put the circle here, I'm going to try it up here and see if that works. If not, it's down to the bling. So let's take our, that will sit onto there. So the first thing I want to do is take the 2 3/8. Now it's up to you. You can use whatever dies, circular dies you want. Excuse me. Just make sure that one is larger than the other, and then it will solve your problem. So that would sit there like that, and then the white one I've done would sit there, and then I've got my popcorn there. So that might actually work, and I may not even need to use 3 of my little popcorns because they already pop out. Right, let's see how it goes. As I say, it's always a creative opportunity, and none of my cards are ever the same, even if I'm trying to copy them. Do you find that? Never 2 cards are the same. Right, so I'm just going to put a thin line of glue when it comes out around the outside edge of this piece of paper because I don't want it to go in a circle. And then I'm just going to pop that over the top, like so. Okay. Now we can create the card. So bringing back in our piece of Daffodil Delight, which we have scored at 2 3/4 and 5 1/2. I'm going to fold that over at the 5 1/2 mark, and I'm going to burnish. Okay. Then I'm going to fold this back on itself. It goes folding up that way, and then I'm going to burnish it. So it gives you that tent effect, and that's how you create that bit that goes there. Okay, so the next thing to do is to stick this piece inside, and I'm going to make sure that it's far down to the bottom with a little border here as I want it to be, just a border here. That way when it stands there it's obvious, but then that bit doesn't really matter because your message is going to go up there. Hope that makes sense. Right, I am going to use the words best wishes, they're here, and I'm going to stamp that in the, am I going to do it in the Melon Mambo, or am I going to do it in the Coastal Cabana? So let's have a look. So that, no, I think I'm going to do it in the Melon Mambo. Yes, I am, because I got the Coastal Cabana there, and I'm going to have the yellow popcorn, so then I'm going to do that in the Melon Mambo. So obviously you're going to aim for this to be at the bottom of the card. Whoops, that's not sticking, so let's just, there we go. Tap it onto there. Yeah. And then I'm just going to, not quite at the bottom, but as far down as you can. Pop it in. There we go, birthday wishes. And then that can now be fitted inside the base. So let's turn that around. I know there's glue in there because I can feel it's heavy. But for some reason, when it's really, really hot, it just seems to want to gush out. And now it's gone back to a slightly more even temperature. It's decided that it will stay in the pot. So in theory, your popcorn, your strip would go here, and then this would go here. But what I want to do first of all is I'm going to put the top of this on. So with the opening facing towards you, this bottom flap you're going to put the glue on, but you're going to put it with a border around the edge because your layering piece is smaller than the actual card. Okay, and this is the piece that's going over. So this is the Coastal Cabana that goes over the top like so. Okay, so when it's stuck down, it pokes out like so, or pokes up like so. Now we can put this piece on. So this time you can put glue all over. There we go. And it's going to stick down fully onto the Coastal Cabana layer. Okay, so that is our laid down part. And again, when you come up, it will sit to there. So, where's it gone? Everything's disappeared. Okay, so let's put the banner on. And what I'm going to do before I do that is I'm going to put my three, I would call them ghosts. They'd probably be very good as ghosts, so they're ideal for Halloween cards. I'm going to pop my 3 popcorn on, like so. And then I'll know exactly where to put them. So they are going to go up with dimensionals. Got a little bits of dimensionals here, so let's have a look. That one goes over there. Oops, so I'm going to put him in the middle. Then I've got, no, not that one. This one will wiggle over here. Let's cut that, shall we? My little scissors, there they are. So that one is going to go on there. That will layer to there. And then you've got the other one, which is this one. And that will go onto this edge here. And take that. It's going to go there. Right, so I'm going to work out where this goes. And I'm going to pop a line of glue down the bottom here. Turn it over. And then work out roughly where I want this to go. So that's going to go up like that. Happy with that. Give it a little bit wriggle over. There we are. The card will stay like that because the tops of the popcorn will hold it in place. So the only thing to do now is to add our topping on there. And for the life of me, I can't work out where I've put it. So just bear with me while I go through this. It's got to have been somewhere. Well, I'll be blowed. Bear with me. I'm going to turn the camera off. I'm going to find it and I will return. Okay, so I managed to trap the entire circles in between two stamps, ink pads. So that's a good start. Right, so what we're going to do is we're going to attach this one to here. Lay that over the top. Then I'm going to pot my, as you can see, I've tried it out on another colour first, but I definitely preferred this one. I'm going to pop it up on dimensional, so I'll bring in my dimensionals. One at the bottom and two at the top. There we go. Perfect. And then that one is going to go onto there. Let's do that. Now again, you could lay it flat. What I'm going to do is I'm going to match it. It's going to be more central because that way my little popcorns are popping out. I really like that. Okay, do I do it? Yes, I'm going to do it flat. So over the flat. And then I'm just going to work out where my little popcorns are. They can all be peeking out. It's got one eye peeking out. Another one there. Right, so there is our card. If you wanted to use the other popcorn, you could of course just pop them around your card base like so. But I think I'm quite happy with the three I've got, so I won't need these ones. Always are easy for another card. So these are our two popcorn cards. I hope you like them. It's been great fun, this set for the week. If you do have a go with them, let me know. I'd love to see what you create. So please pop photographs in the bottom of the comments. That would be amazing. And also you will find down below, I will have got the supplies that I have used today. So thank you ever so much for joining me this week. I hope to catch up with you again next week when we have a new stamp set of the week. So do join me then. Thanks everybody. Take care. Bye.